Did you ever imagine that a single night in Paris could shatter the calm illusion of friendship and ignite a storm of speculation that refuses to burn out? Did you expect that when Kim Taehyung, known worldwide as V from BTS, emerged hand in hand, or was it merely arm to arm, with Park Bo-gum, the internet would fracture into two furious camps, each convinced they alone held the truth? Did you think, even for a second, that this was just another celebrity photo op? If you did, the footage says otherwise, because if you look closely at the viral video, filmed by a witness whose shaky hands betrayed just how momentous the moment felt, you will see more than casual camaraderie. You will see the flicker of something almost conspiratorial in the way Taehyung leans in, the way Bo-gum dips his head, the way their movements align as if rehearsed long before they ever set foot in Paris. Was it the choreography of old friends or a calculated performance meant to send a message no press release could contain? The moment they stepped into the glow of the streetlights outside L'Arc Paris nightclub, everything changed. The noise of the crowd melted into a single, collective gasp as dozens of phones lifted into the air. In that instant, Paris ceased to be merely a glamorous backdrop for Fashion Week. It became a crucible, an arena where perception and reality collided so violently that not even the most seasoned publicists could look away. And perhaps that's why, days later, the world is still asking the same question with the urgency of a confession. Are Taehyung and Park Bo-gum simply best friends? Or is there a hidden pact that neither man has ever dared to acknowledge? The footage, now played and replayed in every imaginable format, split screen, slow motion, digitally enhanced, shows them stepping out of a side exit, a detail that alone has fueled countless theories. Why the side exit? Why not the grand entrance through which most of Celine's guests departed, waving graciously at cameras? What exactly did they have to hide? Eyewitnesses say that just before they appeared, security tightened around the alley, creating a corridor that looked anything but accidental. Two Celine staffers, both wearing discreet black lanyards, stood watch, their eyes flicking constantly from the doorway to the waiting cars. When Taehyung emerged, he did not smile. When Bo-gum followed, he looked down as if studying the sidewalk itself. Some observers insist that what happened next was simply a friend's steadying gesture, Taehyung placing his hand lightly against Bo-gum's shoulder, guiding him through the chaos. Others see it differently. They claim it was an unguarded moment of affection so clear it cannot be denied. Which version do you believe? In the hours after the video hit the internet, hashtags bloomed like invasive vines across every platform. Hashtag Team Bo-gum, hashtag Paris Secret Pact, hashtag The Bo-gum After Party, and the speculation splintered in every direction. Some voices, breathless with excitement, declared this the long-awaited confirmation of a bond deeper than friendship. Others rushed to defend the purity of their relationship, insisting that no video, however suggestive, could override years of simple companionship. And through it all, a quieter, more unsettling theory took root. What if this was neither friendship nor romance, but a pact, an understanding forged in private to control the story the world insists on telling for them? If you trace the timeline of their evening, the intrigue only deepens. Witnesses first spotted Taehyung arriving at L'Arc Paris around 10:30 p.m., stepping from a Celine car in the same monochrome ensemble he wore earlier at an exclusive fitting. He moved quickly, head down, as cameras flashed. Not long after, Bo-gum appeared through a separate entrance, an odd choice, considering the two have often arrived together at public events. Inside, sources say they were inseparable, sharing a table tucked behind a velvet partition. The music thundered overhead. Champagne bottles glittered in the low light. Yet no one could say for certain what passed between them in the hush beyond the DJ's reach. I guess this where the secret began, because if you ask those who watched from behind the barricades, they'll tell you there was nothing ordinary about their exit. They moved like they were trying not to be seen. One fan said, her voice trembling as she replayed the video on her phone, but also like they knew everyone would see them anyway. Another insisted she heard a staffer murmur into a radio, "They're coming out together, be ready." Be ready for what? For a scandal? For the headlines that now threaten to overshadow everything else about Taehyung's return. And that is precisely the paradox that has captivated millions. Because in a world where every celebrity interaction is dissected for hidden meaning, this one feels different. This one feels deliberate, strategic, maybe even dangerous. Consider the context. Taehyung has only just completed his military service, a milestone that, for many idols, becomes a line between old identity and new. In the weeks since his discharge, he has been courted relentlessly by global brands, invited to private viewings, hailed as the savior of Celine's marketing strategy. According to Brand Finance, his ambassadorship alone boosted Celine's engagement by more than 50%. His return was meant to be a coronation, proof that no time away could diminish his magnetism. And yet, with one midnight walk beside Bogum, he has transformed that narrative into something far messier and far more interesting. Even those closest to the industry are hesitant to guess what it all means. A stylist who worked the event, speaking under condition of anonymity, described the atmosphere as charged, like everyone knew this was about more than fashion. She added, "It was as if they were daring people to ask the question, 'What are you seeing here?' And what are we seeing? Two friends, exhausted after hours of posing for cameras, seeking a moment of privacy in the back alleys of Paris? Or something more calculated, an acknowledgement that no amount of PR can contain the electricity that sparks when their names are spoken in the same sentence. Perhaps the most compelling clue lies not in the video itself, but in the silence that followed." Neither Taehyung nor Bogum has issued a statement. Celine declined to comment, beyond a perfunctory note celebrating Taehyung's iconic presence. Even Big Hit, usually quick to tamp down unverified stories, has stayed resolutely silent. This collective refusal to explain has only intensified the fever pitch of curiosity. Because if there was truly nothing to hide, why not say so? You can feel the tension in every tweet, every Instagram story, every shaky vertical video recorded by a fan who happened to be in the right place at the right time. You can see it in the eyes of those who line the barricades, clutching banners and phones and dreams. They are not only waiting for an answer, they are waiting for a moment of clarity that may never come, and perhaps that is the brilliance of it. Perhaps the greatest power Taehyung and Bogum possess is not in what they reveal, but in what they refuse to reveal. In the gaps between statements. In the pauses that stretch so long they become provocations of their own. Because if you strip away the theories, the pixelated close-ups, the breathless commentary, you are left with something as simple as it is infuriating. Two men walking into the night, side by side, with expressions no camera could fully decode. What did they say to each other as they stepped into the car? What promises, what pacts, what admissions passed between them in the hush before the door swung shut? Did they know, even then, that the footage would spark 1,000 arguments, each more impassioned than the last? Did they know that in a world starved for authenticity, a single moment of ambiguity could be more powerful than any confession? And if they did know, if this was always the plan, then what does that make the rest of us? Witnesses? Victims? Willing participants in a spectacle that thrives on our insatiable hunger for meaning? What happens now is anyone's guess. For some, this is just another celebrity controversy, a fleeting distraction destined to be replaced by the next viral moment. For others, it feels like a watershed, the instant when Taehyung and Bogum stopped being merely stars and became symbols of something deeper, something nobody yet has the words to name. And in the days to come, as more footage emerges, as more voices weigh in, as more theories blossom and wither, one truth remains undeniable. The night in Paris was not an ending. It was an invitation, an open door into a story that still refuses to resolve. Will you walk through it? What if the night in Paris wasn't a love story or a scandal but a signal, a declaration that no amount of planning can protect a celebrity from the weight of global scrutiny? Even before Taehyung's car disappeared into the narrow lanes behind the Lark nightclub, the internet was already on fire. The timestamp on the first viral post reads 12:08 a.m., mere minutes after the moment unfolded. By dawn, there were threads dissecting every detail. Why Bogum kept his head lowered, why Taehyung's hand lingered on his friend's shoulder, why their security detail looked so tense. But there was one detail almost everyone missed in their rush to speculate. One detail that, if true, could upend every assumption about the night. A short video, nearly drowned out by the noise of screaming fans, shows the pair pausing before they reach the car. Taehyung appears to say something, just a single word, and Bo-gum nods once. A nod so subtle it's nearly invisible. And then, as if a signal had been given, the door opens and they disappear inside. What did he say? Was it a simple confirmation? Are you ready? Or something more cryptic, something that only they could understand? Because it's this idea, more than any tabloid headline, that has captivated millions, that there is an entire vocabulary between them no outsider will ever decode. That every look, every gesture, every fraction of a second carries the weight of a story they will never share. And in that possibility, something powerful takes shape. Something that feels almost dangerous in its defiance. Consider how carefully constructed Taehyung's public identity has been. For years, his presence has been a paradox. Unbelievably visible, yet somehow unknowable. The military service only sharpened that contrast. Even as he trained, even as he vanished from stages and interviews, he remained an icon, a ghost in uniform whose image could not be contained by a barracks fence. Now, as he steps back into the public eye, every moment feels charged with a question. Who is he when no one is watching? If you were standing outside that club, if you were close enough to feel the bass vibrating the sidewalk beneath your shoes, you might have seen the way their faces changed the instant they passed the last security guard. It was as if a mask slipped free. The tension in their shoulders melted just a fraction. The set of Taehyung's jaw softened. Some who were there have described it as relief, others as triumph. But all agree that something happened in that space between the velvet ropes and the tinted SUV door, and maybe that is the heart of the story. Not a question of whether they are lovers or co-conspirators or simply friends, but a testament to the power of an unguarded moment. Because in a world where everything is content, where every second of a life can be monetized and weaponized, the simplest gestures can feel like revelations. Some observers have argued that this is precisely why Celine's team looked so nervous. Not because there was anything scandalous to hide, but because they understood the stakes. That even a quiet exit through a side door would be consumed by the same ravenous curiosity that has followed Taehyung since the first day he stepped into the spotlight. And what a spotlight it has become. It's easy to forget that this was meant to be a celebration. A triumphant return. A moment of shared pride between an artist and his fans. But in the echo chamber of social media, triumph can curdle into suspicion faster than anyone can prepare for. The algorithms do not care about intentions. They do not reward nuance. They reward intensity, controversy, the thrill of an unsolved mystery. And so, within hours, the narrative shifted from Taehyung and Bo-gum reunited in Paris to something more volatile. What are they hiding? Of course, the theories multiplied faster than anyone could contain them. Some insisted this was all part of Celine's marketing strategy. A calculated bit of theater designed to overshadow every other brand presence at Fashion Week. If that's true, it worked spectacularly. Within 24 hours, the video had outperformed nearly every official Celine campaign asset across all social platforms. Clips of Taehyung and Bo-gum were embedded in news coverage from outlets as varied as the New York Times, Simpy, and Le Monde. Some commentators marveled at the genius of it all, calling it the most effective soft launch of a brand narrative in years. But others saw something darker, a pattern, a suspicion that Taehyung's team, knowingly or not, has accepted that any controversy, even the most personal, is preferable to being ignored.